Support comes from the St. Louis Public Library Foundation. During these challenging times, free access to digital resources is a necessity. You can help our community stay connected. Support your St. Louis Public Library at slpl.org.
This is St. Louis on the Air from St. Louis Public Radio. I'm Elaine Cha. For the first time in 32 years, Lou Magdits is not on the Rolla City Council. After 12 years serving as the city's mayor, Magdits decided not to seek re-election. Prior to his 3 mayoral terms, Magdits spent 20 years representing Rolla's 4th Ward. He sat down with St. Louis Public Radio's Jonathan All on Monday, a few hours before his successor, Lister Florence Jr., was sworn in. During their conversation, Magdits reflected on his time in office and how things have been different recently. Jonathan started the conversation by asking him whether there's an accomplishment he's especially proud of.
Oh, without a doubt, it's one in particular, and that is the center. The center has been a discussion point, for some time, very unfortunately, because, what I've often said, Jonathan, is, you look at an outstate area like ours, and we have a 60,000 plus square foot recreation center that's paid for. It's in as good a shape as it was the day, when we built it. And not many people can say that. Clearly we didn't get exactly what we said we were going to do on financial performance, but all other metrics were good. And it is a draw. And the relationship with the hospital. So I was on the group that promoted it and built it. And obviously at the back end now, I'm the one that made the arrangements with Jason at the hospital. And they will take it to a new level.
Will you feel the same way about the center, even if what is required for its long-term viability is some kind of additional sales tax, which is, I know, one of the things they're floating?
It's the only thing that's being floated. It's just a question of when. What ballot does it go on? But the city, subsidizing the rec center, dry or wet side, comes from the general fund. City has multiple checkbooks, if you will. And the general fund is dominated by police and fire. That's 70% of the general fund. So the city's general fund could only subsidize that facility for so much. And right now, just subsidizing the natatorium only post Phelps Health is probably $25,000 to $30,000 a month. So at some point, which we've done this year, we've taken that out of cash reserves. So that's not sustainable.
Some people believe that the selling point for the center was that it was going to be self-sustaining for the long term, and it's required a little additional help. Does that make you concerned about its legacy and, in turn, yours?
Time has a funny way history has a funny way of changing as time goes on. The one and only mistake that I think we made was committing to that self-sufficiency. And it was a noble cause, but when we went through the final design, we had to cut things, all right? The exercise area was supposed to be twice as much. Now, think about the economics of the center. Do the people coming in playing noon basketball pay enough money to float the place? No. It's the memberships associated with the walking trail, the walking path, and the exercise area. So we took that and we cut it in half. And that was a nod to the local private facilities. We didn't want to really compete with them more than we had to. So we kind of took that away. We made some compromises in the pool, which we shouldn't have. So those things all hurt us enough. But let me put this in perspective, because we've done the surveys multiple times. There is not, to our knowledge, a recreation center in the state of Missouri, and probably the border states, that is run self-sufficiently with member only. You will not find it. It's just a question of to what degree the taxpayers are subsidizing it. That's the first fact. The second fact is our financial performance was actually better than most. So if you compare ourselves to one of the facilities in St. Louis, for instance, we had a recapture rate of, I'm going to say 75 to 80% that had paid the way. All right. That's unheard of. So on one hand, we failed in our original promise, but we were pretty damn good in keeping that subsidizing rather small.
You're very proud of the center. Are there any things over the last 32 years that you wish that you had been able to accomplish that you didn't?
You know, I don't know if there's any one particular project, Jonathan, that I would look back on. I am leaving office in the last couple of years, um, slightly disappointed because in the last couple of years, and I think what you see at the national level with politics today is now down in the size of communities of Rolla. Okay, so people today, they get annoyed at the federal government. You can't fix homeless. You can't fix this. You can't fix that. The price of gas is too high. So people have this unrealistic expectation as to what local government could really do. Okay, so it's a function of, I can't blame somebody in Washington because I can't see them, but I can blame my local government because I can see them at the post office or at Walmart. That has led to much more activism. All right, so now people, instead of when I first became involved, you had business people, you had professionals, you had blue collar people. They became on council just, I want to help out. I want to see Rolla continue to be good. In the last couple of years, people now come, they almost got a little bit of an axe to grind. Well, I'm going to fix this. I'm going to City Hall to straighten it out. And sometimes you got a left, sometimes you have a right. And the far left and the far right, neither of them are any good. Because why? The population today, locally, regionally, and in this country, remember the bell curve. Most of us are either in the center or a little right or a little left, right? So that has been a disappointment. And to be honest with you, you look in the last couple of years, we kind of figured out how we wanted to tackle homelessness, right? We picked the fight with the mission, and then we had to pick the fight with the people that had the Pride event. And it was just one thing after another that probably had disappointed me. That we were tackling things needlessly and things that we could not fix.
It seems that there are two very big schools of thought about people who live in Rolla. A lot of people who want Rolla to stay a small community, who pine for the way things used to be, talk about the way things were 15, 20, 30 longer ago. And then there's a group of people that want to see Rolla grow, expand, do new things in different ways. Do you think both of those mindsets can peacefully coexist in a city moving forward?
Yes, because I think one is becoming less dominant. So when I moved here 32 years ago, Rolla was 11,500 people. Today we're over 20,000. All right. So where did that population growth come from? That population came extensively on the basis of transplants. Okay. I look at the neighborhood that I live in. I would say maybe 10% are people that are born and raised in Rolla. Okay. So what you have today is you have so many more people coming in that are not looking to try and make Rolla like it was in the 50s and the 60s. They're coming from different coasts, they're coming from metropolitan areas because they're coming because of the university and Brewer Science and the hospital. So they're coming and they look at Rolla now and they say, we do want some of these other amenities. We do want nice streets. We don't want gravel roads. We don't want chip and seal for roads. We want asphalt. We want a center. We want the cultural benefits that the university provides. We want those things because we'd had them before we moved here. So I see more of that and less of the other.
So what is your assessment of Rolla right now?
I think, it's interesting because when I ran for mayor, somebody said, well, what are you going to change? I said, we have a good track record. No unforced errors. Okay? Keep the growth steady. And I think that's what we've done. I mean, if you look at the economy of Rolla, so it really comes down to three things that drive Rolla. And it's diversity, balance, and geographics. All right. So the diversity comes by we don't have any one segment that's dominating. Right. We have high tech, Brewer Science and MOSI. We have some blue collar, which is Hartman. We have the diversity that the government entities will bring, DNR and USGS and the hospital and all of these things. So those two, because of that nice balance, we're almost recession-proof. I don't think in the 32 years I'm around, I don't think Rolla has had a single recession. In 2007, we had static growth by virtue of the sales tax, but we never went negative. And it's because of that diversity and balance that things can ebb and flow. And then we have geographics, okay? Look at a map of Missouri, right? You have the major economic centers, Kansas City, St. Louis, Columbia, Springfield, Jeff City, right? And now you look at South Central Missouri, almost down to the Arkansas border. We are the regional hub. Pick a topic. Education, healthcare, all the topics. We are a draw for a pretty big geographic area, and growth gets more growth.
Lister Florence, the new mayor of Rolla, you know him well.
Mm-hmm.
You were on the council with him. He was your mayor pro tem. Do you have any advice for him?
Oh, I gave him an earful this morning. I said, years ago, two things that came to mind. Number one, when I first started, I thought, well, I'm going to make decisions that are 80%. I'll make 80% of the people happy and 20% unhappy. Well, I found that most of the things, Jonathan, of any subsequent or some significance is 51-49. Okay, those tough decisions, you're going to basically make an equal number happy and an equal number not happy. And my advice to Lister is you got to listen to everybody. You have to treat people with respect. You have to listen to their opinions. But in the end, you're going to have to make decisions that are difficult. And most importantly, you're going to have to defend them because of this 51-49 issue. The other thing is I got advice from a friend when I first got elected. And he said, the most popular decision is not always the right decision. And the right decision is not always the most popular decision. And I never forgot those words, and they're very, very true.
What is your favorite thing about Rolla?
Boy, I don't know if there's one favor. I'll answer the question this way. I moved here with the intent of staying 5 years. And the intent was to go back to the East Coast. 5 years became 30 years, okay? The taxes, we looked at it after 5 years. We said taxes are very good. Services are very good. School system was good because we had small children. It's safe. Let's stay. A couple of years ago, retirement come knocking on the door. So we said, our kids are spread out. Where should we go in retirement? And we looked at it and said, taxes are low. The city's safe. The city's clean. There's cultural things here by virtue of the university. Why would we leave?
That was former Rolla Mayor Lou Magdits reflecting on his public service career. He spoke with St. Louis Public Radio Rolla correspondent Jonathan Ahl earlier this week.
This episode was produced and recorded by Jonathan Ahl.
Podcast designed by Aaron Dorr.
Our executive producer is Alex Hoyer.
St. Louis on the Air is a production of St. Louis Public Radio. Understanding starts here.
Do you find yourself regularly listening to episodes of St. Louis on the Air? Suggest us to a friend you think might enjoy our conversations, and leave us a review and rating on Apple Podcasts on the App Store. It's the simplest way to help people discover our show. Thank you.
St. Louis Public Radio is a member-supported service of the University of Missouri St. Louis.
Hi, I'm Laura Hamden, and my colleague Jessica Rogan and I are your daily hosts of the Gateway newsletter. We meet with the editors in the STLPR newsroom every weekday to bring you the top local stories of the day in a quick and easy 6-minute read by 6 a.m. In an age of overwhelm, it's a refreshing, thoughtful take on the news day, if we do say so ourselves. Fine-tune your daily news habit with the Gateway newsletter. Subscribe at stlpr.org/gateway.